When an empath loves someone she can't have. Have you ever felt your heart race for someone you can never call your own? Have you ever spent sleepless nights thinking about a person who belongs to another life, another commitment, another destiny? There is a silent pain that corrodes inside, loving someone impossible when you feel every emotion multiplied by 1,000. When every look turns into hope, every casual word turns into an imaginary promise, and every farewell hurts as if it were definitive. For those who feel too much, this kind of love isn't just difficult, it's devastating. What happens when someone who feels everything falls in love with someone they can't have? How to survive when your own feelings turn into your worst enemy? Why is it that you, who have always taken care of everyone, now find yourself trapped in an emotional trap with no way out? The answer isn't simple, and maybe you're living it right now, desperately looking for a light at the end of the tunnel. 1. The weight of feeling too much. There is a brutal difference between liking someone and carrying that feeling as if it were a stone in the chest. For those who are truly empathetic, emotions do not come in normal doses. They arrive like a giant wave that sweeps everything in front of them. When you fall in love with someone you can't have, every thought about that person turns into a whirlwind. It's not dramatic, that's just how it works. While other people can like someone and go on with their normal lives, you're stuck in a never-ending cycle. He wakes up thinking about that person. He works on automatic because his head is far away. And when night comes, silence brings everything back with full force. It is not freshness or exaggeration. It is your nervous system running at high voltage all the time, capturing every detail, every possibility, every crumb of attention, as if it were a feast. The problem is that feeling intensely doesn't give you superpowers. Quite the opposite. You get exhausted, tired of processing every interaction 1,000 times in my head. Did he look different? Did that sentence have a double meaning? Am I going crazy alone in this? The answer is usually yes to the last question, but your heart insists on looking for evidence otherwise. The people around don't understand. They say things like, "get over," or "move on," as if to press a button. They don't know that you've tried this dozens of times, that you've already promised to forget, you've blocked on social media, you've avoided places where you could find that person. But none of this erases what you feel deep down. Empathy made you dive so deeply into the essence of this person that they now live inside you. You miss it even when you shouldn't feel anything. He misses someone who was never his own. He feels jealous without having any rights. And the worst? He feels guilty for feeling all this. It's an emotional prison where you're the jailer and the prisoner at the same time. Each feeling multiplies, amplifies, becomes an infinite echo inside the chest. The truth that no one tells is that all this intensity takes its toll. You lose sleep, you lose your appetite, you lose concentration. Your vital energy is gradually drained to feed this impossible love that consumes everything. And at the end of the day, you wonder why you have to feel everything so strongly, why you can't just live more lightly like everyone else seems to live. 2. When hope becomes poison. At first, hope seems to be your best friend. It keeps you alive, gives you reasons to wake up, makes you believe that maybe, just maybe, things can change. But when the object of your love is unattainable, that same hope gradually becomes the most toxic substance that exists. It traps you in a vicious cycle where every small gesture becomes fuel to continue feeding an illusion. You start living on crumbs. A warmer good morning becomes a sign of interest. A conversation that lasted 5 minutes longer becomes proof of a special connection. A different emoji in the message becomes a reason to spend hours analyzing hidden meanings. Your empathetic mind, so good at reading between the lines, now works against you. She creates entire narratives based on almost nothing. The poison of hope acts slowly. First, it convinces you to wait a little longer. Then it makes you believe that you are different, that your connection is unique, that eventually the person will realize how much you match. You become an expert in justifying the unjustifiable. If she's committed, you think that maybe the relationship isn't okay. If he lives far away, you already plan impossible changes. If the situation is complicated, you simplify it in your head. Meanwhile, his real life is taking a back seat. Real opportunities for love go unnoticed because you're too busy keeping alive a flame that should have gone out long ago. Available and interesting people appear, but you don't even see it. Your heart already has an owner, even if that owner doesn't know it or doesn't care. The cruelest part is that hope prevents you from really suffering. It seems contradictory, but it is exactly that. You can't grieve because you still believe there's a future. You can't cry all the tears and move on because there's always that what if pulling you back. It's like trying to heal a wound that you yourself keep poking at every day. Every chance encounter becomes an event. Each message received becomes a reason for internal celebration. You celebrate progress that doesn't exist, achievements that are just the other person's cordiality. And the more empathetic you are, the worse it gets. Because you feel when the person is being kind, but you interpret kindness as interest. You capture affection, but confuse affection with love. There comes a time when hope ceases to be that romantic and beautiful feeling. It becomes an obsession in disguise. It becomes an excuse not to face reality. It becomes the poison that keeps you sick while you believe that it is the medicine that will cure you. Sometimes the heart clings to what the mind does not understand. It is in this silence that the unconscious tries to show what still needs to be healed. Access the link pinned to the first comment and discover the transformative power of the Jung Method. 3. The illusion of signs that do not exist. Your empathic brain is a powerful connection-making machine. It takes loose information, random behaviors, and builds patterns where there is no pattern at all. When you're in love with someone impossible, that ability turns against you in a brutal way. Suddenly, everything becomes a signal. Everything has hidden meaning. Everything seems to confirm that his feelings are reciprocated. Did the person post a sad song? He must be thinking of you. Did it take long to answer your message? She is confused by her own feelings. Did you answer too quickly? I was looking forward to talking to you. No matter what, your mind finds a way to turn it into evidence that there is something beyond the surface. It's like you're putting together a puzzle where the pieces don't fit together, but you force it until it looks like they form an image. The look that lasted 2 seconds longer becomes proof of attraction. Laughter at your joke becomes an indication of special chemistry. The fact that she remembered that detail you mentioned weeks ago becomes a demonstration that you are important. You don't realize that empathetic people naturally pay attention to others. You think it's exclusive, that it's just with you. The more you delve into this illusion, the harder it becomes to see the naked truth. Your heart wants to believe so badly that it creates a parallel reality. In this reality, you have an inexplicable connection. In this reality, it's only a matter of time before they get together. In this reality, all obstacles will magically disappear because your love is too strong. But the true reality is still there, relentless. The person you love has a life that doesn't include you. She makes plans without you. She sleeps and wakes up next to someone else or just doesn't see you that way. While you're interpreting signs and building castles in the air, she's just being polite, friendly, or at best, enjoying your company casually. The most painful thing is when you finally confront someone you trust about these signs. You tell with excitement about that look, that message, that gesture, and the person with all the delicacy in the world shows you that you are seeing things that do not exist, that anyone would do the same, that you are projecting your desires into reality. Accepting that the signals were false hurts more than outright rejection, because it means you've spent months, maybe years, living in a fantasy. It means that all those nights awake analyzing conversations were useless. It means that you have wasted time and emotional energy chasing shadows. And worse, it means that you need to rebuild your perception of reality from scratch. 4. Emotional addiction disguised as love. Let's talk about something that hurts to recognize. Sometimes what you feel is not real love, it's addiction. Your brain has learned to seek out the doses of dopamine that come from every interaction, every message, every chance encounter. You're addicted to the emotional roller coaster this person causes. On the highs when she gives you attention and on the lows when she walks away. And like all addiction, it's destroying you little by little. Think about it. How many times have you checked your cell phone today expecting a message? How many times have you opened social media just to see if she has posted something new? How many times have you changed your routine in the hope of crossing paths with this person? This behavior is not love. It's compulsion. It's the same mechanism that keeps a player coming back to the casino every time. The reward is uncertain, And precisely for this reason, when it comes, it looks even better. Your body releases powerful chemicals each time you have contact with that person. The heart races, the hands sweat. You feel that butterflies in your stomach. It seems magical, it seems like destiny. But it's really just your nervous system reacting to an intense stimulus. And the more empathetic you are, the stronger that reaction is. You're not just feeling your own emotions. It's absorbing the other person's energy as well. The problem is that you need larger and larger doses to feel the same effect. In the beginning, a simple greeting was enough for you to stay on cloud nine all day. Now you need longer conversations, clearer signals, deeper interactions. And when he can't, he goes into a withdrawal crisis. He becomes anxious, irritable, empty. Look for any excuse to get in touch again. The inconvenient truth is that you are using this person as an emotional drug. It takes you out of your boring life for a few moments. It makes you feel special, alive, intense. The world is colored when she is around and gray when she disappears. You are not in love with the real person. You are addicted to the effect it has on you, in the idealized version you created, in the fantasy you feed. Breaking away from an addiction is painful. It requires going through the valley of shadow, the emotional hangover, the days when you'll feel dead inside. But it is the only way. Because as long as you keep feeding this cycle, you'll never experience real love. Healthy love shouldn't feel like drug withdrawal when the person isn't present. 5. Why is it so hard to give up? Giving up someone you love seems like the cruelest request in the universe. It's like asking you to tear off a piece of yourself and throw it away. For those who feel it intensely, this is not only difficult, it's almost impossible. Because you're not just giving up on one person. You're giving up all the futures you've imagined, all the happy versions of the two of you you've created in your mind. Every attempt to move on feels like a betrayal of your own feelings, as if you were being false to yourself. After all, what you feel is real, powerful, overwhelming. How can you just ignore something so big? How can you pretend it didn't happen? Your heart screams that giving up is cowardice. It is weakness. It is admitting defeat. So you continue. Even though he knows he is getting hurt, there is also the fear of emptiness. This person, even though it causes you pain, fills your days. It gives you a purpose, even if crooked. It gives you something to feel, even if it's suffering. You are afraid that without it, your life will become an emotional wasteland, that you don't feel anything anymore. May you lose all that intensity that, although painful, makes you feel alive. It is preferable to suffer for someone than to feel nothing for anyone. There is also attachment to pain. It sounds crazy, but it's true. You've become accustomed to suffering for this person. Pain became his companion. It is known, predictable. You know how to deal with it. The unknown that comes after giving up terrifies you. Who will you be without this love? What are you going to do with all this feeling that you have nowhere to go? Pain, as terrible as it is, gives you identity. His empathetic side complicates it even more. You worry about what the other person will feel if you walk away. Even if she doesn't reciprocate your feelings, you don't want to hurt her. You don't want her to feel guilty or lose her friendship. So you keep sacrificing yourself, prioritizing her comfort over your own sanity. You become hostage to your own goodness. In addition, there is a part of you that still believes in miracles, who thinks that if you hold on a little longer, circumstances will change, that the person will wake up one day and realize that you are exactly what they need, that your persistent love will finally be rewarded. So you keep going, day after day, waiting for a miracle that will probably never happen. 6. The mourning of a love that never was. There is a type of loss that society does not recognize as valid. When you lose someone who was never yours, no one gives you condolences. No one calls you to know how you are. There is no wake. There is no farewell ritual. You have to suffer in silence, because in the eyes of the world, you have not lost anything. But you know the truth. He lost everything that could have been and never will be. Mourning something that only existed in your head is particularly cruel. There are no photos to burn, no gifts to return, no concrete memories to process. There are only fantasies, expectations, plans that never got off the ground. How do you say goodbye to an imaginary future? How do you bury hopes? How do you accept that something that didn't even start properly is over? The stages of grief are all shuffled. You deny that you need to give up. He gets angry with himself for allowing himself to feel. He tries to bargain with the universe, promising to be different if given a chance. He falls into a deep depression when he realizes that there is no way out. And acceptance, when it finally comes and goes, comes and goes, like waves that knock you down every time you think you've managed to get up. Grief is lonely. Your friends don't understand why you're still bad after so long. For them, nothing really happened. You didn't date, you didn't break up, there was no betrayal or fight. So what's the problem? Why can't you just get over it? They don't know that in your head and in your heart you have lived a complete story. You loved with everything, even without reciprocity. You go through times when you feel guilty about suffering. After all, technically you have no right to be like this. The person never promised anything. He never consciously gave you false hope. You are the one who built a castle on top of fragile foundations. So you try to convince yourself that you can't be suffering, but the pain is still there, real and heartbreaking, no matter how hard you try to rationalize it. There are days when you wake up and for a few seconds you forget. Then reality falls like a bucket of cold water. You're going to have to spend another day carrying that weight. You'll have to pretend normality. You will have to smile, work, talk, while inside, you are falling apart. And no one around you has any idea how much effort it is to simply exist with that hole in your chest. The hardest part is accepting that you'll never get answers. You'll never know if she felt something at some point. You will never find out if it could have been different. You will never be able to go back in time and make other choices. You have to learn to live with uncertainty, with unanswered questions, with the feeling of unfinished history. And eventually, very slowly, you learn to breathe again. 7. The guilt that no one talks about. There is a feeling that corrodes underneath all the others. Guilt. Guilt for feeling what you shouldn't feel. Guilt for desiring someone who is not available. Guilt for fantasizing about situations that you know are wrong. Guilt for continuing to feed something that should have been nipped in the bud. And the more empathetic you are, the worse it gets because you fully understand the moral weight of your emotions. You feel bad that you're having these thoughts. If the person is committed, you blame yourself for being the element that puts a couple's happiness at risk. Even without doing anything concrete, just feeling it already feels like a violation. You imagine the pain it would cause if your feelings were discovered. How could this destroy homes, hurt innocence, cause tragedies? And you carry it alone in secret. The fault also comes from having allowed this to grow. You knew from the beginning that you had no future. He saw the red flags clearly, but he still let it happen. He let his heart get involved. He let roots deepen. Now you are reaping the consequences of your own emotional neglect, and he has no one to blame but himself. You blame yourself for being unfair to real people who show interest. Good people, available, who could make you happy. But you don't even give it a chance. You compare everyone to this idealized person. He rejects legitimate opportunities because he is too busy chasing a ghost. And you know that you are being unfair to these people and to yourself. It's your fault that you're lying to everyone. To pretend that he is fine when he is shattered. To smile when he wants to scream. Of saying that he is busy when in fact he is just avoiding social situations because he can't stand pretending anymore. You've become a full-time actor in your own life. And it consumes you. But perhaps the deepest guilt is that of not being able to simply stop loving, as if loving is a choice you're actively making, like you could push a button and turn everything off. Society makes you feel that if you really wanted to, you could do it. So you blame yourself for not wanting enough, for not being strong enough, for not being able to control your own heart. And this guilt becomes just another weight in an already heavy backpack. 8. Rebuilding itself after the impossible. There comes a time when you have to choose to continue destroying yourself for something that will never happen, or to begin the painful process of getting back on your feet. Rebuilding after an impossible love is not like recovering from a normal breakup. You're not just healing wounds. You are having to dismantle an entire reality you created and learn to live in a new, more sober and less colorful one. The first step is the most obvious and the most difficult: to cut off real contact. Not that half cut where you still peek on social media or make excuses to talk. It is the surgical, definitive cut, which hurts like tearing off a gangrenous limb. Block, delete, avoid. Yes, it seems drastic. Yes, it will hurt a lot. But it's the only way to start really healing. You'll need to fill the void that this person left with real things. Not with other people right away, because you're going to end up projecting the same patterns. But with hobbies, projects, concrete goals. Your mind needs something new to process. Your heart needs new reasons to beat faster. It can be a course, a sport, a trip, a creative project. Anything that gets you out of constant mental rumination. Forgive yourself. This is not a cheap self-help phrase. It is a real need. You need to stop punishing yourself for having meaning, for having made a mistake because it was human. Accept that you did the best you could with what you knew at the time, that feelings are not crimes, that having loved wrong doesn't make you a bad person, only human, flawed, real. Reconnect with who you were before. There is a version of you that was buried under all this obsession, someone who had dreams of his own, varied interests, who genuinely laughed at silly things. Look for that person. She's still there waiting for you to pay attention to her again. Remember what made you happy before. Regain small pleasures that you have abandoned. Allow yourself to feel the pain without judgment. There will be bad days. Days when you will cry for no apparent reason. Days when nostalgia will hit hard. Don't try to be strong all the time. Don't repress. Cry, feel anger, feel frustration. But then get up, wash your face, and continue. Healing is not linear. There will be advances and setbacks, and that's okay. Eventually, on any given day, you will realize that you spent hours without thinking about that person. You'll wake up and she won't be the first thought. You're going to see something that would remind you of her and just move on. These small everyday miracles are the signs that you are healing, that it is being reborn, that he managed to transform all that painful intensity into wisdom. One day you will look back and be thankful, not for the pain, but for what it taught you about your limits, about self-love, about the difference between feeling and getting lost in feelings. You will realize that surviving this impossible love has made you stronger, wiser, better able to recognize true love when it finally appears. And it will appear, but only when you've finished rebuilding yourself and are whole again.